Hello everybody, welcome to the Labyrinth of Limitations, and I'm going to call this episode Things I Learned From Barry Harris. And in Chris Parks's recent episode, it's his last episode as of this video, he did a few days ago, it's about everything, all these things you can do from scale degree 2 in D7. So he's doing, that's not something he did really, but something, he started with a pivot. He did something prettier that was like, so, yeah, like that kind of, like these really nice phrases that I haven't the vocabulary for yet, but I am getting competent enough with putting together these ABCs that I'm going to talk about it, and I'm going to take Chris's advice when he said we could all be doing a video showing things to do from each scale degree and showing this practice. And so I think that's a good kind of invitation to do that here. So I'm going to talk about scale degree 3 because Chris talked about scale degree 2. So again, we're doing D7 into G. It could be D7 into other things, E major, it could be D7 into E minor, D7 ending on the third of B. There are things that there are other options, but it could be D7 as the tritone, so running in a D flat. But I'm going to focus on just that standard thing of D7 going to G, so it's the 5 chord. So it's a, and that's what I'm thinking of. So that idea. So I'll start with half step rules. So from scale degree 3. So that's pretty hard, but I'm going to interrupt maybe. So that was an idea. My own places where I'm going to be growing continually, in addition to just now I'm feeling more competent at doing these, working on phrases, putting breaths in, rhythm, and the endings of my phrases, which I'm working to develop more of a vocabulary of that. But I've been really focused on just getting really comfortable with putting these things together in real time and with developing some that I'll keep and plug into phrases and stuff. Of course, those habits happen. It's like a language. So that was one half step. What about two half steps? So 1, 2, 3, 4. Whoa. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that would be, I went down an important chord, and then I went a little tritone or diminished sound. But this, that's a pretty sound. I'll do a triplet on one of these. I'll do a triplet with just one half steps. 1, 2, 3. Maybe two triplets. So that's pretty. That's 1, 2, 3. That's a pretty sound. So that's the triplets where it's a 16-note triplet. What about an 8th-note triplet? That's going to flip my half-step rules. So like that. So that's so it's like this is the note that my half-step rules are on, because it flips things. So it's 2 half steps or none, right? So maybe I could do one of these. So that's almost like that's starting on beat 4. 1, 2, 3. I'm not so good at that move. That's that. That's terrible. I'm working those out, but Chris has a wonderful episode somewhere in there about that, multiple probably, about taking the important chord that's based off of the 5, so that's A minor in this case, and then moving down, this kind of, which makes this beautiful sound, and I need to put that in my vocabulary more. But okay, so that was some half steps with triplets. What about half step rules starting on the and? So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that was 2, 3, 4. Well, that was a pivot. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Something like that. So that was, I flipped the rules when I do the and, right? What about doing a pivot? So that's, I'll do a pivot on the strong beat first. So 1, 2, 3. So that was doing a pivot, and then I end up doing 1 half step. Just working out. Okay, so what about starting on the and with a pivot? That flips the situation. So 1, 2, 3, 4. See how that sounds? That's 1, 2, 3, 4. And this is the next note afterwards is what I do my rules from. 2, 3. So I'm doing a similar ending. Again, I need to build a bigger vocabulary of endings to my phrases, I think. But working on it. Just practice, just exposing it. What I love about this whole approach is that you can really find those weak points and you can explore them. You don't have to stay in your habits. You can just look at it and be like, well, I always, when I end up on scale degree 5, I do this, although I do that a lot. So I just change up a little bit, right? Or, you know, I can do that. I can just do that. What about? So if I were ending up on 5 over G, I could do something like that. There's ways, clear ways to start to explore. I just have to practice it, which is really fun. Okay, so what about Barry's chromatic concept? So instead of half-step rules, I'll do the chromatic concept, and I'll go, maybe before that, I'll go ahead and do it since I talked about it. Something weird at the end, so I'll do that again, I'll do it better. So 2, 3, ending with a similar type of ending I've done probably already in this video, I'm sure. But yeah, so that was doing the chromatic concept, which is, of course, Chris talks about it in his episode. But if there's no space, like between scale degree 3 and 4, I have to go up to the next scale degree. And then I go, and so what about that? So I'll try to get this. 2, 3, okay. 2, 3, like that's going into the tritone tone from that, and going down an important, you know, and then running out of it. Got to practice that one too. I'm not as good at that one. Okay, so that's doing a little bit of chromatic concept. I did that in going up a chord. What about just going up a chord? That was going up a triad, sorry. So it's like, so that was that. So that's something I worked out, I guess, for that. But then what about from F sharp? But I'm going to go up a chord, so I'll go to this F sharp, and I'll go just running down the scale after that, basically. That's nice. So that's pretty. So that's going up a chord, and then I take the note after going up a chord for half step rolls. And then I'm going to go down an important arpeggio. And that's my tritone. that is. So let's just running on G major after that. So, you know, and then what if I did it on the and? So 1, 2, 3, 4. So that would be one. That would be, I did 2 half steps because it's on the and now. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. That wasn't right. 2, 3, 4. See, I could do the same phrase essentially, but I didn't do it. I just went straight into it. So 2, 3, 4. See, that's what that is. Lots of fun. Maybe that's enough examples of just exploring from scale degree 3 and just, you know, taking something that's there. And because that's really what's wonderful. It really struck me when I encountered Chris's channel. He's just doing all these amazing examples with all these beautiful phrases and sharing so openly the process. And it's so much better than if it were heavily edited and like practice examples, because you can really see the process of putting things together, which is just astounding to me. Like when I first encountered that, I was like, oh, this is how we do this. And I've tried to do that on my channel. I've found his to be a real inspiration. When I'm talking about scales of chords stuff is really being open about the process and not doing too much preparing of examples, but talking through it, talking through concepts, which is what we want to do. You know, sometimes we're going to get into places where we can't do it fast enough that we'd be able to do it in a performance right now, but that's what we practice. And you get it together and add it to your vocabulary of your speaking language, just like with a language you're learning, like learning, I speak a little bit of French, not great, but I have my vocabulary that I'm learning and my ways of speaking that I'm learning, but then there's what I can actually use if I'm in a conversation. Those are 2 different things, you know, but they're all connected together. So I hope this has been fun, sharing with you things I've learned from Barry Harris. There'll be more to come. I'm sure I'll probably talk about scales of chords stuff next time, or maybe the connection between these things. But I've got lots more to discuss and share and explore. Thanks for following and keep practicing.